All right, so let's go over the calendars. Brand new flow track feature. And when you go in here, the first thing it wants you to do is to connect a calendar. Kind of makes sense. And I want to take a moment to say that one of the things that I really appreciate that FlowTrack did in their planning is that they basically don't keep a separate database of your appointments. Let me explain. If all your appointments that were booked here lived here, what happens if that connection is severed? It'll basically not check for conflicts. I've seen some problems with that. So by connecting here, all the appointments that FlowTrack books with our widget here, they only get stored in the calendar. So it prevents a lot of conflicts. You know, until you've had a problem, you don't appreciate it, but I appreciate it. But that being said, the first thing we have to do is we have to say, where are these going to live? So we're going to go ahead and connect, and you have a choice between a Google account or a Microsoft account. I'm a Google guy, even though I do have a Microsoft account. So the easy thing is just to connect it. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in, allow, and it's just like that. It is now pulling in all of my appointments and everything. And I'm going to give it a second. And now that it's connected, we're live, and it's pulling in all my sub calendars. And just so you guys know, if you're not using Google or Microsoft, there is a way, even though you'll have to go to Google Support Docs in Google, to pull in that feed into a free Gmail account. And then by connecting that free Gmail account here, you could still book appointments. There's a few steps you got to do, but ideally just hopefully you have a Google account, because that's what I have. All right, so now let's go ahead and run through this real quick. Let's go to settings. And when I go back in, these are different calendars. I have other calendars for my other businesses. I want to make sure that it is checking these calendars to make sure there's not conflicts, right? Because I have appointments with all of our other brands, okay? If I just had this one on and these weren't there, then it would just be checking that one, and it could double book me. But since these are my calendars, I'm going to turn them on, and then I get to choose if it's visible to other team members. That's what these eyes are for. Okay. If you have that off, they could still see you're not available, but they won't see the details of the event, which is really cool. All right. So we're going to go ahead, and I like those settings, so we can close it. And then we have our settings for event statuses. We're going to save high, real detailed training for specific use cases for another time. But one of the cool things that the FlowTrack team had foresight to do is, when I was building in my old system, I had to generate a lot of my own emails. And we have some system generated emails here that we have control over, which I think is very, very important. And if you wanted to go in and edit one of these emails, you can do that. And so forth. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this. Let's go ahead and get out. Let's go ahead and move on. So we have our notification emails, which can be triggered by system events. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is go back to the main screen. These are the bookers are the name for the different calendars. They're bookers. Okay. So we're going to go to the booker. It created one for me by default. And by default, it's already configured, but I want to make some changes. Okay. This is going to be the name of the booker. This does show on the calendar embed, and then you can put a short description, and let me show you where that lives. Okay. So you can see the Meet with Daniel, and you can adjust the color. No big deal. Now, this is something I truly appreciate. There's a lot of URLs you can use if you haven't connected anything, so you really don't even need to connect a URL. But remember, when we first set up our white label system, we created a domain, flowtracktraining.com, and that's where people log in and so forth if they were customers of ours. But what's cool is I can go ahead and select it. Any domain that I have connected can technically be the root domain for any of my calendars. And then I can edit the name. right? And if it's available, it'll let you keep it. All right. Let me go ahead and save it. And when I go back in, you can see I can copy this link. I can get the embed code. If, let's say, I wanted to put it on a WordPress or a Wix website on a third party, you can embed that widget no different than a form. Okay. And then what also is really cool is that you can actually go in here and make edits to your widget. Like, for example, like one of our primary colors for Agency Remix is orange and black. So we can click on it, go to the color palette, and then these are the different items. And let's go ahead. I don't know which one it's going to be. Let's just choose one of these. And there it is. Now my widget matches Agency Remix color scheme. I used to have to hire a developer to create some CSS for me because I am not a CSS guru. Lisa is. I'm not. Where I had to spend some money to customize my widget, and we have it built in right here. Okay. Now I'm just going to exit out. I'm not going to save it. But I like that level of control. Okay. And we can also put our image in there. I'm just going to, let me see if I have anything. Nah, I'm not going to worry about it. But if I could put my logo here, I can put my headshot here, and then that does show up on the widget. And then I can control the size of that image on the widget. Okay. All right, moving on. Meeting event options. So we can create multiple lengths of events. Okay, so maybe I want to add an hour long. So let's put one. 60 minutes. The meeting length is going to be 60 minutes. And then we're going to have it start every 30 minutes. And that increment means if I do it every 30 minutes, they can book at 8, 8:30, 9, 9:30. If I left that at 60, it would be 8, 9, 10. If I did it 15 minutes increments, it would be 8, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock. I like the 30s. All right. And then we can go ahead and edit all of these, right? And what's cool about it is that the Booker page has a master URL, right? So when I go to it, I have a choice like this to be able to choose one of these, right? So the Booker itself has a URL with 3 different kinds of appointments. And then what I was showing you here is that I can just grab and pre-select one of those types of appointments. It has its own URL. Pretty cool. Mike? You want to add something?
Indeed. No, I just wanted to point out that fake busy feature on there because I know a lot of people are messaging me how much they love that. I thought that was cool. So you got the fake busy. So fake it until you make it. You know, you don't want your calendar to appear like you're available 100% of the time if you're a new agency, right? So go in there, plug in a fake busy. It's going to randomly knock out some slots on the calendar there for you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, real cool. You know, I mean, I used to want to appear busier, but now I have the luxury of just having way too much work. So I would have loved this feature about a year ago, but I'll tell you what, it was one of my favorite things in the very first calendar I got when I first got started, because I didn't like people just jumping in and seeing they could book with me anytime. I didn't look important. And so by you guys putting that in there, I love the randomness of it. It makes people see you as in demand. So good call. Mm-hmm. Good call.
Yep.
You know, and that goes along with being able to control these calendars with different dates and times. So each calendar can have different availability, right? And moving quickly, and interrupt me as much as you want, Mike, because I may forget something. You know, we have a buffer event time, okay? And this ensures the first buffer is in case, like, let's say you don't want to have back-to-back meetings. You want to have a 30-minute break between each appointment. That's how you do it. Okay. Let's say that you know, you don't want someone booking on the same day just because their availability. Let's say I only want people to be able to book 2 days in advance. This is where we do that. So now the first available appointment has to be at least 2 days from now. Okay. And then the after event buffer is just another way of doing the before, but maybe you want a 30-minute after. And the reason why the before and after is separate, guys, is because, honestly, because Mike listened to the suggestions from the community. Because there were some use cases where people were like, well, so I want an appointment to where I have to drive to a customer. So what they may do, maybe it's from their office or not, they may put a 30 to 60 minute buffer so that they have an hour to get there and an hour to get back. That's how powerful this is. Okay. And I know one thing that I'd like to see that you know, I'm sure Mike may have already thought of is that sometimes I only want people to be able to book 2 weeks into the future because I don't want people to book. I don't know what I'm doing in 2 weeks. Maybe I'm going to go on vacation. I don't know it yet. The way we can handle that now, guys, at least, I mean, you can go in and just block your Google Calendar. It's not the solution, but you know, I mean, it's kind of a workaround. But I know that they're adding features here every day, and I'll be honest, it's already my favorite calendar software. You know, in my last software, I didn't use the last software. I literally paid a third party just because the powerful features they had. And to be honest with you, I think they're here. I'm really happy with how this came out. Okay. And then the meeting invite settings are the last thing. This is what gets populated in the calendar. In other words, when you log into your Google or your Microsoft calendar, it's going to use this as the title and then the description under it. And then you get to choose your time zone. Don't forget this, big deal, right? And we are right there. That's my time zone. And then you get to choose the location, all right? Now, those of you that know me know I'm a big Google Meet fan. I like it more than Zoom myself, only because it's just easier for me to use. And so by using the native Google Meet, it'll pull the link from Google and give it to them. If you're using a Zoom, you can put the details, you can get your static Zoom link and either put it into custom or put it in the description or both. All right. And then maybe sometimes you have calendars that are done over the phone. Sometimes they're in person. And what's cool about putting things here in the location is that at least in the Google Calendar, if you put an address in there, the Google Calendar defaults whatever's in here to work in Maps. So if you put an address, there's a good chance that it'll automatically, when they click it in their Google Calendar, it'll open up their navigation app and take them there. So it's just really, really cool. And let me see. I know there's one other thing I wanted to cover. And yes, I'm trying to remember. Trying to remember where it was, where I can do the groups, Mike, and the team calendar. I think it's under bookers, isn't it? Let's just create a new one. I know I lost it last time. I think it's on this screen. In person. You know what? I'm going to cheat. Where is my calendar? Need all improvements. Oh, that reminds me. I like that we can need things to be approved in our calendar. I know I just jumped around there. We get some controls. I have not played with this, guys, but I think it's really cool that we can go ahead and do reminders via the templates in the email template builder right here. So there's just a lot of cool functionality built in.